Hey, here's what's up on the jack today. 1967 Mustang convertible. Modified up nice. Pro touring setup. A car built to drive. Just finished up, oh there's my other light. Just finished up looking it over and taking about 300 photos, doing an inspection on it for an out-of-state purchaser. And this video is made exclusively for him. Once he decides to purchase or not purchase, then it will be made available in the public just for the use of showing what we do. If you need service like this, autoappraise.com, 800-301-3886. So where do we begin? I guess let's begin under the hood today. Donor 5.0 out of a 93 GT Mustang. Dual electric fans, 3-core radiator. So on this particular setup, they cut out the shock towers and changed the whole inner fender structure. This one had Heights Mustang 2 front end setup added to it, disc brakes, power booster upgrade, and a dual master cylinder proportionary valve, all that nice stuff down below. The engine installation looks clean and neat regarding the welds and the reinforcements that they put on the rails that you can see down there, bolts going through for that sway bar setup. But the engine's nice and square, spaced out nicely, uniform. The underhood detail on the core support, somebody reshot this, and the inner fender's in kind of a gloss black, and sanding and prep work isn't beautiful. It's presentable. We got a VIN stamp in the apron there. We're going to go with that because there's no data tag in the door. Headers into a nice dual Flowmaster system. Relays. Everything about this is the upgraded 5.0 version and support stuff. So the engine bay is pretty tidy. AC condenser upgraded. Inside of the hood is nice. We've got a little paint peel on the back side where we're exposing some primer in some various spots, but if the hood's closed, you don't see it. The hood's nice and straight along both edges. It's not bowed, and the skin lips are very nice. So I'm only showing you that. I'm not skipping to body yet, but I'm going to put the hood down here in a minute. So we have that same situation, a little bit of evidence of overspray. DB90, I think, is that yellow primer. So older product, used in the 90s and early 2000s. Some guys probably still use it. I'm guessing that the build's been around a while, and we'll know more about it shortly. Before I drop that hood down, body is at 76, 77. Engine's at 78, so it's going to be a nice cold start when we get it going. Aftermarket air conditioning compressor. So under hood, decent. Oil is clean and full. Antifreeze is clean. It looks low on green substance, so it might be running 80 or 90% water. So I got the car jacked up still, jacked up in the back, more there to talk about than there is up front. So again, that Heights rack and pinion Mustang 2 setup with disc brakes, pretty standard fare stuff, been used a long time, and it looks like it's set up nicely. Some cross braces were stitched in here on the rails. They could stand to be touched up and just painted. There hasn't been any paint work done under this car in a long time. This car would love a half a day jacked up on a hoist with a power washer, and then about 3 days worth of just nice slow hand detailing, a little bit of cleaning, painting. Frame rails, boxed rails are still in good shape on both sides. No evidence of crunch or no giant hook marks stretching anything out. Cadmium plated sway bar there. Reinforced, so the coilovers could stand to be painted. Inner fender apron area is in good shape all the way around. And then coming over, taking a peek at this frame rail, same thing, nice and square in the front, no pulled die holes, good clearance on the oil filter. You can see those welded reinforcements there up on the let me see if I can get a more clear shot there. Up on the suspension to the control arm mounts. So everything looks pretty tidy. Front main seal's in good shape. I don't see any leakage coming down there. Fuel lines, return lines, everything looks good. Can't smell any fuel under here. The car seems to sit pretty square and level. Looking at the tire wear side to side, and it looks nice and good. The tires aren't brand new, so I think we're in good shape there. Insides of the fenders look just like that on both sides. That was not what you thought it was. That was my knee pad squeaking. All right. So heading back here, primarily I look at a lot of structural stuff on these Pro Touring cars because they get cut up sometimes and want to see how they get put back together. The torque boxes here, this is a 67 and this one happens to have torque boxes on both sides, have been serviced. There's a little bit of a welded repair, narrow 1" by 7 or 8" weld section reinforced added there. The box itself seems to be in pretty good shape, tied all the way out where it should be. This car does not have an aftermarket set of frame ties, and there was some welding work done and construction work done there. This floor pan at one point had some rust in it, and it was cut out along this original rail flange. Let me get my finger on the screen. So we have here an original rail flange, and then the pan you can see was cut out here, and dropped in, and comes over here. Oops, my light's not helpful. There we go. So the floors are very solid. There's been sheet metal, repair. These are not OEM spot welds along the rockers. So the rockers have been changed on both sides. Back up here in the center of the floor, we're looking at the transmission cross member. Everything seems to be tucked away nice. There is good clearance between the exhaust intermediate pipes and that transmission mount. No obvious leakage there at the rear input shaft. Sorry, I'm kind of bouncing around down here. I left my jack in the back. No heavy grease or oil leaks really seen or noted or detected. Exhaust is done up nice, 2.5" H pipe setup into a set of Series 40 Flowmasters. Headers are in pretty good shape, good clearance. Fuel lines and brake lines have all been serviced at the time this car was done. And back here, so they cut at the, we got a new drive shaft, well, a replacement drive shaft. It's still pretty shiny. And the tunnel stays the same, but they cut this seam here, and the floor pans were dropped in along there, there. Coming up back here in the back of the car, again, factory original frame rail, no torn hole. Leaf spring mounts are nice and solid and stable, and up here in this splash area that normally gets all rotted out and decayed out, it's been tended to. Based on looking at this weld here, we see that the wheel tub has been serviced, and you can kind of see the cut right here, and then the cut along here where they modified the back of the car. Ford disc brake rear end installed nicely, and the tubs are all very solid and sound. Good wheel clearance. I haven't been out for a drive yet. I will find out, but I don't see any issues really there with regards to the tires meeting the body. Down while I'm on the side of the car, there's very little rust, rot, or decay to talk about. A little bit of oxidation right here, a little bit of rust bleed that could be cleaned up with some rubbing compound, but any rust or decay that was in the body, I believe, was cut out and replaced a long time ago. There's some stone splash back here that is probably pretty typical. A little bit of wax buildup. Somebody didn't get off the car. Lines are pretty good. I don't think there's a ton of body flex. That being said, there's some contact, a few contact spots in the car that are missing a little paint. The balance panel's in nice shape. Backup lights. Got the GT style panel. The chrome dual ports are mounted on this side, and this side they must have fell off. Those are going to need to be replaced. While I'm down here on the ground, tail light bezels, reverse light bezels, they're in decent shape. Script along the trunk. Back up here, we'll wrap up on the underbody. The trunk extensions are solid. You can see the cuts up here where they've done some replacement sheet metal work, but the rails appear to be all original. No torn die holes there, no compression back there. Leaf spring perches were mounted right through those unitized rails, as they should be. And then the wheel tubs, they look very original, don't they? You can see that flange is split a little bit, but it's very stable. Independent coilovers added here. So the floor tubs are in good shape. It looks this way left and right. Fuel lines, sending unit and whatnot, everything's neatly mounted back here on the back of the tank. Exhaust obviously doesn't have a lot of burn off or wear. Original factory parking brake was deleted. That's where it used to go, through that hole. Then these inner splash panels, these are not spot welded in. These panels have been changed, replaced out, so they're in good shape. No rot or decay there. And the same on the other side. Back here on the frame rail, again, you can see the cutout where old versus new is exposed. Everything looks good and solid and stable. You can see that there's welds holding everything together. So It's a stable underbody, good looking underbody, nothing in terms of rot or decay that is troublesome. And there's our, oops, I'm showing you that kind of angled. Again, floors on this side basically are mimicking the other side. Reasonable meat left on the tread. So there's our rear end, our front end suspension, and underbody and floors, frame rails, and some of that modified work. Some pretty cool 5 spokes on here. Pirelli 235, 55, 17s. And these are 17s up front, just a little bit smaller. 235, 55 ZR17, I lied. Pilkington replacement windshield. And I tried to rub any bug spots off that I could find, and I'm pretty sure there's no cracks. I'm going to say I'm 90% sure there's no cracks or chips in it. It looks pretty good. The side glass is all original OEM stuff in pretty good shape. There's a few little hairline ice scraper marks on this window, a couple here, but the other side looks pretty good. And it's got a modified power window switch out of probably a 93 Ford, and that works. The trim on the car is largely original as far as I can tell. Wiper arms, windows, surround. This mirror, if it was changed, it was probably done 15 or 20 years ago, and it might have been. New gasket was installed. Door handles have very little wear or patina, just a little bit of pitting here and there. See if I can get that in focus. A convertible top surround trim has got some hairline scratches and whatnot. There's a little crack in the paint slash body, and probably a little bit of a torque type of a crack from some shifting in the body from the powertrain. The rear convertible top surround trim lifts a little bit right here. It seems to be bent up just a little bit, and who knows when that happened. Window frames about the same condition, mirror, vent window frames, etc. All in that just decent driver category. A little bit of patina on the vent window frames. This script and the ponies were likely changed when the car was repainted. Not sure when that was done. The bumpers were likely replaced with aftermarket units. The grille and the running lights are in good shape. Grill mounted fog lights are in good shape. LEDs, front and rear. Headlights and taillights are working. Let's drop it down and take a peek at the trunk. Head out for a ride. We'll cover the paint and body here in the interior in a minute before we take off on that ride. We have a rear mount battery and a charger. The connection between the original extensions there and the wheel tubs look like in pretty good shape. Not all packed full of roofing tar. This board, this is an original style mat. I didn't see a part number on it, so it was probably replaced 20 years ago. But there's plywood cut and screwed down in here covering that extension, so I can't really see it. What I do see doesn't look alarming. Wiring's been upgraded, of course, to the tail lights, and here's a power antenna that's been added. And then the radio speakers and whatnot, the wiring is, some of this looks probably worse than what it is. Everything seems to be heat shrunk and set up in there decently. Trunk lip, pretty much same story as the hood. This body was probably a pretty solid body, except for some rust in the floor pans before they cut those out and changed them. Jams are in good shape. That's my shirt hue. So the chrome in the rear on the bumper is just like the front. Nice, got extensions on it. And those light up with an LED look. There's a little ding in the trim right here. Let's talk about the paint and body before we head out. There we go, getting back in focus. So, noted was a few small rock chips and whatnot. These extensions took paint and it looks just slightly lighter than the quarter, not bad. I left some magnets on the car because we used a digital paint meter, I did, and the digital paint meter showed varying readings, but we had good magnetic adhesion throughout. So for starters, 15, oh, what am I out of bills? Okay. 1.5. I think my batteries are failing me now. Here, we'll do this the old manual way. I'm not getting any readings at all, but I did. I got varying readings in the 30s to 50s range all down this side, 33, 35. There's still photos that I took earlier, and then this side began to give me more zero readings, but as we can see, we've got good magnetic adhesion. So the magnet will stick. You hear the clicking and watch the little lever move. So it does this nicely in all the right spots. Okay. I won't fill the video with 100 magnetic readings, but you get the idea. So let's talk about some chips, scratches, and feature lines. The hood lines up nicely. You got nice gaps around. Very little to really discuss as far as major chips. This is probably the biggest one on the car, and you can see it's smaller than my fingernail. There's a few contact chips in the jam here and here, same on the other side. And then up on the other side I showed you a couple of cracks in that area. The other chips are really small. They're kind of like a little ballpoint pen size mark, and they're difficult to photo and or video. Not as much stone splash over here. So there is not much to complain about on a driver quality car at this level. The paper exploded view, there wasn't much to add to that. So I didn't fill one of those out because there was so little of it to discuss. If we took away just the chips and the top jams there, and down here, and then some seatbelt entry chips and whatnot, dragging your heels chips. Door corners are both in really good shape. That shows a little bit of oxidation, but it's clean. I mean, clean in a sense that it's not rotted out. Currently, it's had some repair work. There is no data tag on this car, just the VIN as far as I can see on the apron stamp. Rocker molding has a little bit of a gappage going on here, a little bit more so on the driver's side than the passenger side. Door alignment is pretty nice, and the doors I'm going to just, you can see that the courtesy lights are working. I'm going to just close this nice and easy. So don't have to slam them. The deck lid, probably the only line I would take and move this deck lid 1/4 inch that way. That's wax buildup, by the way. Just rub that off. The deck lid overhangs the back end of the car. A little worse on that side than it is over here. So not the perfect fit and finish on that, but it was 1967. So that can stand to be shored up just a little bit. One small rock chip here in the tail panel. Right there. So we have a valance, or a, excuse me, we have a tonneau cover, and we have books that were in the trunk. Hopefully I'll remember to put them back in. So let's take it for a spin and show off the interior kit. Door panels are in nice shape. A piece of vinyl was glued in for the window regulator on both sides, and actually on all the panels, because it's got power windows. And I don't believe they make a panel that's solid without that hole cut in it already. Seat covers in great shape, aftermarket seat belts installed, aftermarket carpet kit. It's got just a little bit of color fade here and there. Probably the strangest sound is to open up the door on a 67 Mustang and hear this. That is not right. While I got this door open, there's evidence of a little bit of that DP90 primer in the door, and the door skin again is in nice shape down there. These jams can stand to be cleaned up a little bit. Dash is really neat. Tilt wheel. Fan blowers on, radio's pumping up. Check engine light in a 67 Mustang. Get out of here. All right, and now it's off. What are we showing? 15,285. I would believe that to be legitimate. Turn signal left, turn signal right. I'll get some help with that later. And then we've got power door locks. Power windows work nicely. What's making a little noise? Alright, let's turn that down a little bit. It has the addition of a hydraulic clutch, which is very nice. Power steering feels good. Hey, how's those turn signals look? Hold on. Parker lights? Parking lights? Headlights? I checked those earlier. Okay. Grab my brake lights and turn signals on the way out. Let me know if I got reverse too, please. Horn honks.
Reverse lights are on.
They are? Awesome. Brake. Brake.
Brakes are good.
Brake, okay. Turn.
Right. Left.
Thank you. All right. We have an official light check. Sounds good. Let's turn that off. Just ran my first stop sign of the day. This video's getting a little long. We're at 30 minutes right now. Probably kill it about 32, and then I'll let the car run a few more minutes. Let it heat up. Here I've got to put my hood down. There we go. The metallic's really pretty out here in the sunlight. First time I've had a chance to look at it outdoors. And the slight color difference on those tail panel extensions, the bumper extensions, is a little more subtle out here. Sounds good, doesn't it? Sound better with two matching tailpipes. Tachometer seems to be working. Gas gauge needle I do not see. And battery. We're getting some charging. We're getting good oil pressure. There's our temp gauge. We'll keep an eye on that. It's starting to come up. Not feel like your grandmother's 67 Mustang. Feels nice. I don't really feel any weird contact issues. Holds the road really good. I'm going to jam on the brakes here in a second. Downshift, see where this clutch is. Clutch is engaging off the floor pretty quick. Clutch feels good. Feels like it's adjusted nice. And I'm doing a nice tight turn there, and I don't hear any contact. Good acceleration. Hear a little bit of lag when my foot's really in it, but not much. All right. The last thing I'll do is the stereo works. I have not tested the AC to see if it's cold. Flip the fog light switch on here. it says we're full, but I don't know if it's true. It says the tank is full. Temp is coming up. Yeah. Not a bunch of rattles. Wrap this video up. This one's a long one. Thanks for hanging out. We're going to let this car warm up for another 5-10 minutes and then call it a day. But turning radius seems good. I don't feel any contact issues. I'm going to have to... That's our blower motor, and we're on cool. Max. So if those are all of our controls, it's possible that the air is not blowing cold. Last look at the top here. Hydraulics are working good. And latching right in the right spots. Looks like a one-man job, one-woman job. All right, that's going to be a two-hander though. One more final walk around the car. And again, nothing really to complain about on the interior. There's some, dark spots on the seats. I would say that if you're looking for a car that's probably already been tested, oh, by the way, there's a hole exposed here. This rocker molding may be a little bit short for this length of rocker. I'm not really sure. That doesn't show on the other side, I know that. But it's got a very nice presence to it. I don't think the paint flaws jump out and cause you any obvious attention to be directed towards them. This might be the most fun 67 Mustang I ever drove. I'd align that deck lid just a little nicer and maybe charge the air conditioning. I don't think I'd do much else to it. That's my thoughts. Okay. Have a great day.